Hello, HIUS 530 students. My name is Ronald Picciarelli, and today I'm going to be talking about the famous Scopes monkey trial. John T. Scopes was a substitute teacher in the small town of Dayton, Tennessee. And in the spring of 1925, he substituted in a science classroom, and some students asked him about evolution, and he answered questions about evolution for students. Now, some locals heard about what was going on because it's a small town and kids go home and talk. And some local people got together and said, well, why don't we try to bring some fame to our town and try and find this teacher guilty of breaking the new, at the time, Tennessee law that one could not teach about evolution and just had to teach about creationism. Well, what started off is a little bit of kind of behind the scenes sort of thing where these local people wanted to bring more business, perhaps more fame or notoriety to their little town, ended up kind of attracting some of the big leaguers, such as the American Civil Liberties Union, that wanted to stand up for John T. Scopes, the substitute teacher. And also it brought in the heavy hitters for creationism. Well, the ACLU, one of their attorneys, was a famous man named Clarence Darrow. Darrow was well known as being a champion of the underdog. And the other attorney that opposed him was a very famous man named William Jennings Bryan, who was at one time he had run to be the president of the United States 3 different times. Of course, he lost all 3 times, but he was well known for that. He was a Secretary of State for a while under Woodrow Wilson, and he was going to lead the opposition against the ACLU and their attorney. Well, it ended up being more of a media circus where major newspapers came to the small town of Dayton, Tennessee, and reported on things there. And some of the reports were, very inaccurate and misleading. There's a journalist named H.L. Mencken who reported each day of the trial. It lasted 9 days. And he would describe the people in the town as being kind of small-minded and ignorant. Others brought in monkeys in the town park to attract attention because this is going to be a monkey trial, apparently, because the substitute teacher had talked about evolution. And the highlight of the whole trial was when the defense attorney, Clarence Darrow, decided that since the judge in the trial would not allow him to bring in more of his expert witnesses, he would call an expert Bible witness and examine this person. And this person just happened to be William Jennings Bryan. So Darrow questioned William Jennings Bryan about some facts of the Bible, such as, was Eve really made from Adam's rib, and how would that happen? And William Jennings Bryan, just wasn't able to adequately answer where that idea would come from without including, scientific type facts and things like that. Also, Darrow asked him, some questions that are unclear in the Bible, such as where Cain obtained his wife. And it's not really clear because the Bible doesn't really say where Cain obtained his wife. So William Jennings Bryan certainly wasn't able to answer that question. In fact, Darrow did say things that were very unfair and not really accurate, such as calling people that believed in the Bible bigoted ignoramuses and that should not be in charge of education of children. And you know, this isn't that's not really accurate either. And eventually, all William Jennings Bryan had to do was to prove that John T. Scopes did teach in some manner, taught evolution, and therefore was guilty of breaking the Tennessee law, which he did. John T. Scopes was fined $100, and curiously, the ACLU took the case to the Tennessee Supreme Court and wanted to overturn the conviction of John T. Scopes, and eventually it was overturned just on the technicality that the judge ordered the $100 fine and not the jury. And that's the technicality of the Scopes case. Most people don't know that John T. Scopes never taught again. Maybe he never wanted to teach again. He went on to the University of Chicago and got a graduate degree in geology and taught for various oil companies. He married, had a few children, and lived a happy life outside of the public schools. But the media circus that went on at the Scopes monkey trial basically turned a lot of the general public off to the creationist ideas because of the biased reports from H.L. Mencken and others there that showed the people in the town as being kind of small-minded and ignorant, which really wasn't true. So that's the Scopes monkey trial, as much as I can have the time to talk about it. So thank you for your attention tonight.